And Billy, I didn't bring a pen in, so if you wouldn't mind taking some rough
I can do
notes.
that. I did volunteer.
All right, so we'll go ahead.
Just make sure to do a poor job so you don't have to volunteer again.
That'll be easy.
All right, we'll skip minutes because we can't approve them, and we'll go right into new business.
Yes, I guess that is on me. Would you like me to just get started?
Please.
Okay, so Shoreline Park and Transient Marina. I don't know if I brought this up in the past, but we do have a project that is going on out there. It's a continuation of the project at both locations that we did last year. So Shoreline Park, we did the western edge of the western finger with concrete and put the rock up there to kind of break, that rock was intended to break the two different slopes, one for ADA and the other one, we had to meet the exterior perimeter. So that we are now going to continue around the eastern side of the western finger on that internal slip there. We're going to continue the concrete south, and we're going to put a little off-ramp area, not a ramp area, but like a pull-off area, because we've noticed a lot of people bringing kayaks out there and trying to launch them. There is, in that slip, there's a steel, probably it used to be a revetment wall for when it was actually used as a slip. So we're going to try to improve that a little bit, maybe bring in some concrete and ramp that a little bit, and then put a little asphalt pull-off area off the drive, because people are stopping right in that path to try to get their kayaks down in there. So even though we have a makeshift kayak area kind of at the southern end, more closer to the playground, it's safer to get in, there's less waves, and it's a little easier for people to get their kayaks in over there. So that's the project this year. We did have sidewalks that would have connected the pavilion area with the parking lot and then all the way up to the north end of that dock, and would have made the whole thing ADA accessible, but the cost just came in way too high, so we couldn't get to that this year. And the reason I wanted it on the agenda today is because the contractor, they are planning on mobilizing within the next couple weeks. That project is coupled with the Transient Marina. If you recall, maybe a year ago, I think it was last year, we did the eastern side where there was starting there's two slabs of concrete that make up the perimeter of that Transient Marina. On the east and the south side, it's the sidewalk, but it's also kind of the pathway extension around the Chesapeake. The slab closest to the water started kind of falling in a little bit. It started moving a little bit towards the water. So there was a gap in some areas that you could have easily gotten a bike tire caught in, or a stroller tire, something like that, a wheelchair tire. So we eliminated that gap. We pinned it in to the rest of the concrete. They saw cut down it, and they pinned it into the rest of the concrete so it won't move anymore. It wasn't as bad on the south side, but we wanted to continue that treatment to make sure that over the next few years that it didn't get worse. So we are doing that on the south side as well this year, and those projects are coupled. And as part of those projects, we do have a few small slabs here and there that we're installing. One example, on the western side of the west drive entrance or exit to the marina, there's the two entrances. We never connected the pathway to the sidewalk that goes up to the marina as part of the Shoreline Drive project. That was something that I caught after the fact, so I wanted to make sure that we connected that as well. So there are a few little slabs like that. I think one of the things we were trying to do on the Jackson Street Pier project, we added concrete, but no matter how much concrete you add, people enjoy driving over the grass or whatever. So at the exit of the Jackson Street Pier, we noticed that it's impossible to grow grass there in that little median area. So we're going to try to extend that concrete as well, hoping, people, instead of being patient and waiting for a car to pass, they try to pull out at the same time. So they just drive over and it's really ruining that area. So those are things that we're trying to fix up, just add to projects as we go along. So that's one project that's done by Erie Blacktop. And if the money allows, we'll do those little ones, those little add-on things, if the money allows, based on final quantities. So with that, are there any questions on, one more thing on Shoreline Park. We've been asked to, there's the swing that's out there in the park area. That's the ADA swing that you can actually get a wheelchair on. Everything out there is per ADA standards, but it's not per real life standards. So we've heard from the ADA committee for years now that they can't actually get a wheelchair out to that swing because the material that's under the swing is not very compatible. It is ADA acceptable, but it's not very compatible with wheelchairs. So what we're trying to do is add the concrete that goes out to it, putting a soft surface on top of it. We're not going to do the entire area around that swing, but we're at least making that access area to it. We just need to find funding source for the other aspects of it. And I don't think that'll be an issue. We're working with planning to try to figure out, and the rec department to try to figure out exactly how that's going to play out and if we can get that installed as part of the project. So
what is that now? What's the pathway made of right now?
So there's a rectangular area around it, and then there's a concrete pad that leads up to that rectangular area, and it's backfilled with a material that's kind of a mulch-like material, but it's an ADA mulch. It's an ADA-approved mulch. But as you can imagine, it's not very easy to get a wheelchair through something like that, but it does meet the standard, which is why it was originally put in. But we've, going to the ADA committee, they're like, we still can't get out there, So we're trying to do something more practical, which will exceed their standards.
Judy.
I just have one comment regarding Shoreline Park. Kudos to the library and the Lang Trust. Those things in the trees are absolutely marvelous. Yes, marvelous. So I'm glad that the city cooperated with them to put those in there.
Through the chair, that was something that Lang Trust, when they approached the city several years ago, Greg Volz was, he kind of took the ball and ran with it, and it was something that the Arts Committee was really excited about, and Aaron Blair, who's not here, was instrumental in getting that done as well. So it was really, I know they've had a lot of good feedback, but, and the people that came in from Poland, it would have happened a couple years ago if COVID hadn't hit, but the people that came in from Poland were amazing on how quickly and what their vision was on how they looked at Lions Park and Washington Park and Shoreline Park, and then even over by is that Harlequins? What's the theater down there? There's even a couple down off of Wayne
Street.
And then there's a couple right in front of the greenhouse too that you won't necessarily notice because they're on the ground. They're not actually hanging, but we've had a lot of good feedback. I was actually out at Lions Park the other day, just sitting on the bench on the north end, and people were coming out of that rehab facility there, and they're bringing them into that area, and that was like one of the things that they were doing was looking at all of the artwork. So it was really neat to see them engaging in it as well.
They are beautiful.
Yeah, that's very cool. Mm-hmm. A lot of positive on that. All right, any other questions or comments? Mr. Zuloff, welcome.
Traffic was bad, sorry.
I do have one more question, question.
Right.
I don't know where this fits in actually, but you talked about the ramps for the kayaks at Shoreline Park. And I've had several people ask me, is there any other place in Sandusky besides Shelby Street to put a boat in? A motorboat? No, okay, that's what I thought, but wasn't sure.
I'm not aware of a public area to put a boat in, but I'm guessing that I don't know if there's a fee, if anybody would charge for private marina to let somebody put a boat in. I have no idea, but I know that I can't think of anywhere that there's actually another public area to put one in.
I can't either. Okay, thank you.
I don't know if anybody, any of the marinas have a ramp anymore. I think they're all lifts at Venetian and.
I'm not sure if Hody took that one out that was at Crossview or not. There used to be a ramp there.
Oh, did there? That's right.
I haven't been back to see and I don't know, with the project they have going on for the cottages, if they're going to keep that even. It might be a selling point to keep it.
I thought there was one on River Ave, but it's a private marina, so I'm not sure.
Right. Yeah,
Some guy
forgot about
stopped
that one, too.
at my house and said, I've been to 3 places and no one has the accessibility for me to put my boat in. I sent him to Shelby Street Pier, but I just wondered if there were any other places.
Shelby's a good ramp.
It
Yeah,
is.
it's a great ramp. It's very
Thank
very
you.
good. Thank you. Two real quick comments on Shoreline Park. One came because I was sitting at the yacht club last night when that storm rolled in, and I was looking straight over at the bridge on Shoreline Park. And I don't know if we have signage over there about no swimming and such, but there were 3 young kids, they were probably 12 to 14 years old, jumping off the railing into the water. And they were still jumping when there was lightning in the area. You can't fix stupid, but I don't know if there's signage about no jumping, no diving, no whatever. But there should be, obviously, because that's not the deepest of water and in good time.
Off the railing, off the bridge?
Off the railing, off the bridge.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty shallow.
It's pretty shallow.
It's not as deep as it used to be.
No.
When I used to jump off.
You're talking about the pedestrian bridge? You're talking about the pedestrian bridge?
The pedestrian
Two of them.
bridge,
Which
yeah.
one, by the way?
The one closest to the yacht club.
Well, the worst part about it is you don't know what's down there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
they
I
could be
know
jumping
about that.
10 times and then hit a rock,
Right.
you know?
Fortunately, they were jumping feet first, so that was
Okay.
Yeah.
that was the only smart thing they were doing.
I don't know that there's enough signs in the planet to prohibit all the things that need to be.
No, I
prohibited
understand,
down there.
but
But yeah, somebody should call the police. And
I called the local constable from while I was there.
Yeah.
Because it was happening as they had started before the storm came in, and they were still doing it while it was lightning out there. But
I think the best response, if somebody's like endangering themselves or others, you just need to
Right.
say something to someone, to them or someone else.
Right, and then another thing, I know that they've done a really nice job on the play park and such, but my daughter-in-law took our grandson over to a play park in Port Clinton, and it's nautical themed, which to me would be an ideal once when we're ready to replace at Shoreline, that we keep in mind that there are nautical things, like there were boats and I forget what other things, but he could pretend like he was at the helm of a powerboat, and he likes being at the helm of a powerboat, unfortunately. but the whole park was nautical theme, and so that's just something to keep in mind as we continue to try to tie things into the waterfront. So I'd never seen anything like it. So I saw pictures, I didn't see it. So we'll move on. Anything else other new business? All right, we'll go on under old business. Aaron, we'll turn it back to you.
Yes, sir. So the Justice Center, I wanted to bring up that project is going out to bid next week. Well, we're accepting bids next week. It's already advertised. So we've been getting a lot of questions. We have a lot of interest, which is a very good sign. So I wanted you guys to be aware that that project is right now moving forward. And it'll be next Thursday. Hopefully we'll find out if we're actually going to move forward with the physical construction. The engineer's estimate on that is just over 13 million. We've got the funding set up, and if bids come in way too high, then we'll have to reevaluate whether we're doing it, but we're hoping that they come in around 200,000 or 300,000, which won't happen.
I was paying attention.
I was like, wait.
Probably won't happen in this environment, I wouldn't think, but good. All right, thank you.
The pathway, we are moving forward with the acquisition process still. You will see, I know we haven't necessarily been giving a lot of updates recently as we're moving forward with the acquisition phase. We had to kind of slow down a little bit during COVID, not knowing what the funding was. I know that's been brought up here many times, but I did want to reiterate that we are moving forward. Meg Street, which is under construction now, obviously, we'll have the pathway opened up later this year. That project's supposed to be October, November timeframe is the expectation. They are doing the sewer and water work now still, but once they're done with that, it should move pretty quickly on the surface. We are going to be doing East Water Street next year as well. That's still in the schedule. That's got some ODOT funding, so that one's planned. We have acquired properties from the health department and given them an easement on one of our lots that we recently acquired. And we're working through some other details with other folks. Some of the key folks that we're working with now are Toffs, who've been great, US Subaki, which I was hoping to discuss with Mr. Harrington, who the contacts there might be, because they've kind of fallen off since he left. But we are procedurally moving forward as quickly as we can with the pathway. And that kind of leads us into the landing. At the next commission meeting this coming Monday, there are 5 parcels. There are 6 parcels left to acquire for the landing to have all of the property that we need. And there are going to be 5 of them that we've come to terms with the property owners for the easements, the temporary and permanent easements through there. And there's 1 left that we're working through on that one as well. So hopefully, our hope is that next year we can move forward at some point, but we do have those grant applications out there still. We've got around 20 million for the pathway and about 8 million through ODOT grant that they applied for the landing. So we need to wait and see what those come in, see if they have any strings attached to them, and then develop our timeline as to when we can move forward. But I'm hoping that we can get all the acquisition for the landing, which includes the pathway from Cedar Point Drive all the way to Sports Center, finalized as well. So if there's any questions on those.
How tall would the bridge be over Pike Creek?
That bridge is designed to accommodate the largest boats that we were told. I don't have it off the top of my head, but it was like 18, 19 feet, somewhere in there. But it was designed to accommodate the largest boat at the median water level, the average water level.
Okay. Any questions for Aaron on that?
And that was the bridge over Pipe Creek. The bridge at Heminger Ditch obviously is not going to be designed to accommodate vessels of any sort.
Doesn't have to be any higher than the bridge over on the causeway.
That's true.
That's right.
I don't know how high that is.
By vessels of any sort,
Is it?
does that mean that it would, because right now, I can tell you from first-hand experience that kayakers go up Pipe Creek, so, which Which one are you talking about now?
Heminger Ditch.
Oh, that's
That's the ditch right between Knights Inn and Sports Center.
right. Kayakers use that, and they'll go up into the wetlands there, so.
Yeah, they'll be able to get pretty
A little
close.
hump there would be appreciated and probably almost free. Just saying.
Yeah, they'll be able to get pretty close. We're only 20 feet from the shore at that
Well,
location, so.
You could make the case for going no higher than the clearance from the water on the existing Route 6 bridge, Cleveland Road Bridge. But going any lower could be a barrier to use that exists now. Does that make any sense?
Okay. All right, then the next one would be the Causeway Wetlands.
Yes, that project, I don't know if I gave an update since it was completed. We are going through the ongoing monitoring of that site. There are so many parameters. We have so many good people that are volunteering their time and funds to do that, including entities like Bowling Green, like Ohio Department of Natural Resources, the Office of Coastal Wetlands, the U.S. Fish and, or the Ohio Fish and Wildlife. I mean, there's just a lot of people, Cleveland Water Alliance, Limnotech, like there are just a lot of people involved in trying to make sure that that thing stays as it was designed. Monitoring it for nutrient loadings, for fish, for just anything that you can possibly think of at that site. And then in September, when the Corps of Engineers has their contractor come in to dredge the shipping channel, that's when they're going to pump the first round of dredge material into there. We don't have a date yet, but it is sometime after Labor Day. That was the timeline that we asked them to impact the recreational activities in the bay as much as we possibly could. So we will be seeing them sometime in September. And we'll continue to monitor that as well. We do have an RFQ out for site selection and design of a second site as well. That could be either an extension off this one or finding another location in the bay. But we are trying to make sure that we learn everything we can from this site first before we even follow through with construction of a second phase. So.
All right, any questions for Aaron on that? All right, Mills.
Last is the Mills High Rate Treatment Project. That is a big project. I don't know if we've talked about that much in here, but that's a big project at our wastewater treatment plant. It was a project that was included in our general plan update. It's required by Ohio EPA. Unfortunately, when that was approved in 2015, costs have gone up significantly since that time. But it is another one of those projects that is intended to minimize and hopefully eventually eliminate overflows to the bay through our combined sewer system. We've done an amazing job since before I even got here in expanding the plant and doing what we could to reduce the contaminants going into the bay from our sewer system and reduce those overflows. We've reduced a significant amount of volume. Over 90% of the water that was going in the 90s has been eliminated from going to the bay. Unfortunately, there's different parameters that the EPA also looks at, and we're moving forward with this project. What this project does is it helps during those big rain events. It's called a high rate treatment, so it treats the water with the understanding that it's not as concentrated with sanitary sewage it has more stormwater in it, so it can still go through some of the treatment processes, but maybe not all of them are as necessary. We can reduce chemicals, we can reduce some of the UV and some of the heavy electrical costs and those types of things by not having to treat this at the same time, or not having to fully treat the flow, while at the same time meeting our EPA permits and reducing, and like I said, hopefully eliminating some of those overflows. And not only the overflows, but the basement backups. That's also a big thing that we're trying to do here. So that project is intended to bid later this year, hopefully awarding before the end of the year, maybe the beginning of next year, with construction required to be completed late 2024.
Can we talk about the capacity? This is basically going to be like an accumulation strategy, or what does this project look like? I mean, physically.
We're digging down about 20 feet and putting in filters. We're expanding the bar screens and the pumping capacity at the headworks of the plant, and then we're going to raise the walls on our grit tanks and then put in these fuzzy filters, which kind of filter the particulates and filter some things. If we don't meet the EPA levels, we may need to add chemical dosage to it, and then it goes through a UV system and then bleeds back in. So I'm opposed to the collection and letting water just sit and then bleed it back into the plant, because it takes so much geography and so much land to do that I don't like that. And I think it's a waste of money and space. Plus, if we did that at this location, we would probably have to really impact AMVETS, and our impact on AMVETS is intended to improve it, not take away from it. So
right, and plus, bigger is better, I guess, with that strategy. But it would have to be it would have to be pretty big to do it that way alone. And I suppose you're looking at limestone bedrock, so you can go pretty deep if you can exclude the groundwater, which you may or may not be able to do. You don't even know that, right? Because it has to be empty at some point, and you got to pump it out. Now, so that's not even a small one. That's not part of the strategy at all right now, then.
Yeah, every project at the plant, especially that close to the water, there's definitely a dewatering component to it that the contractor is going to have to figure out, whether that's damming it or punching other holes somewhere and creating wells that they're going to pump out of. But yeah, I mean, that rock's not soft, so there's going to be some digging that needs to be done and some hammering that needs to be done. Yeah. So,
right. Okay. Thank you.
So you call that the Mills HRT, is this affecting Mills Creek, or?
It will affect Sandusky Bay. Right now, we have a bypass at the wastewater treatment plant that when we get high flows, we can send it around the treatment process entirely, and it goes to the bay. The main discharge is past. Nobody knows what the island is called. It's the one that all the cormorants are destroying out there. ODNR calls it Turning Point Island, and they say we own it. We say we don't. Who knows? But anyway, the main outfall is out past that. And then there's a secondary outfall that's actually at the boat ramp. There's a concrete slab before you get to where the pathway crosses the parking lot there. It's to the east of that. And most people wouldn't even notice it, but that one's barely ever used. What we're hoping is that we can use, by treating this water and slowing it down through a second process, that we would use that one even less, because that one is helping out That one is more noticeable and closer to the public areas. As far as Mills, the reason it has that name is because the overflow also, there's an overflow at Mills Street, at the north end of Mills Street, that we're doing a lot of improvements at that location so that we can divert more flow to the plant rather than at the overflow itself. So there's a lot of work that we're trying to do there. And that whole area all the way down to near the golf course even is one what we call catchment area, which has a lot of that combined sewer system that all goes to that one outfall. So we're trying to take a lot of that down to Barker and that whole neighborhood down in there and try to redirect that to the plant rather than having it go out that outfall at Mills.
Okay. That makes sense.
I wonder, since we seem to have reached there's some other business that we've talked about before, and one of them is like Columbus Avenue, and I know that there was some public outreach on that, and I think it's...
Oh, the streetscape?
Yeah, the streetscaping for Columbus goes all the way down to, do we have any idea what we're going to do with that yet? The preliminary stuff has a lot of people alarmed at the loss of parking on the last block there. I've never been worried about parking. Always said I've looked forward to a parking problem in Sandusky, but this is the first one that has me mildly concerned that, number one, the merchants will be concerned, and number two, the parallel parking is less popular and you lose spots. So if it's not etched in stone, I just wanted to put in that little nudge. The other thing is that I'd love to hear anything you can share. I know that negotiations are delicate with developers, but wanted to ask that we remember to share with this body so that we can do our job. Anything you can share about either the Jackson Street parking lot project, which I believe is not only closed the RFP project, but has narrowed it down to maybe three developers, or three proposals. But I'm only hearing that back channel. If you can verify that, or somebody can verify that. And also, there are rumors going around about Battery Park, which I hate for us to hear stuff about via rumors or the newspaper first, so that it'd be helpful if we could, get ahead of it and weigh in before and smooth the way later, if we know at least what the staff can share about those two projects. And maybe that's another department.
Say, as far as me, I can't really share anything on those. I'd have to
Right.
defer to planning and Jonathan and Aaron to answer those questions.
Right.
I do know that they're still in discussions about the Jackson Street parking lot, and part of that project includes a garage that would be a public garage. So if that
Sure.
part goes through, that should address a lot of the parking concerns on Columbus.
Right.
But I don't really know the status of Columbus either. I haven't been heavily involved in those projects, so unfortunately I can't really answer those questions.
Sure. Just a chance to put in that plug, and I'm sure that the planning staff will hear the comments here today.
Right. I believe that we were told that once it would be, we would get a heads up on when the public input would be on the Columbus Ave project.
Well, so some of it's already taken place,
Right.
been there and
Right.
gone.
But I guess if there's making sure that this committee is aware of when those things will be taking place, that would be helpful. Sure.
Regarding
Judy.
parking, someone told me a while ago that there is the availability of adding 2 more floors to the Erie County parking garage. Do you know anything about that?
Unfortunately, I don't. We've tried to get plans and try to find information, but I don't know if anybody's ever seen anything. I know when we did get a set of plans for that garage, it really didn't show anything like that. So I know that there's been a lot of discussion on that's probably the easiest and best option, but I don't know if anybody's actually either seen plans for it or had a structural engineer evaluate it to figure out if it could actually hold additional capacity. So I don't.
I don't tell me that, but I've heard it
Yeah.
more than once.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
It's always interesting, yes. All right.
I have one other question. I don't know
Yes.
if it relates to the Bayfront corridor or not, but is there any update on where the rec center might be?
Again, unfortunately, I'd have to defer to planning staff on that. I think it may have been part of the South Side planning process to see if American Crayon was the appropriate site, but I would have to defer to them on that.
Just curious.
I think they felt that American Crayon site was adequate for surface events like basketball or tennis, but that any excavation was going to get into pollutants.
Well, the reason I ask is someone online asked Eric Whoopser about a community pool, and he said, well, his response was, look at the plans or look at whatever we're doing with the rec center, which kind of made me wonder what's going on there, because I'm on the committee for the Sandusky Education Foundation pool. Just curious.
All right. Any other items to bring forth? Don't see any members of the general public here. Commissioner Harris, you have any words of wisdom for us?
I don't think so.
All
It's
right.
more-
Appreciate you being here. And Aaron, any last words for us?
No, I wasn't sure if you wanted to go back to number 1.
Yeah, for the minutes.
For the minutes, I don't think we
Actually,
still
no,
don't have 5.
Oh,
so-
no 5.
Okay.
All right,
Oh, we still need minutes,
but we can't approve them.
right.
Okay.
I see, yeah.
All right. Thank you.
We hope to have minutes
Yes.
next meeting.
Yeah, we'll try. I think we're missing one other set, so I'll have to try to dig through the archives and see